My girlfriend's best friend framed me for cheating because she was in love with me, so I exposed her and ruined her reputation. My girlfriend tried to cut her off, but she did not take it well. In my last semester of college, I was given an assignment worth 40% of my grade, and I somehow got a 0. I emailed my professor asking how this was possible, but he said it was my own fault for submitting a blank document. I immediately checked what I had submitted and saw that all the work was somehow gone. I broke down and went to my girlfriend seeking comfort. I told her about it, but when I did, she gave me this sly smirk. I asked her what was so funny, and she told me she deleted my assignment. I started crying. This assignment determined if I'd graduate. She knew I promised my grandma before her death that I'd be the first in my family to get a college degree, and now I had broken that promise. I asked her why she would delete my work, and she responded that it was for cheating. I asked what she was on about, and she showed me screenshots her best friend sent her of my Tinder profile. My jaw dropped. I told her that was my extremely old profile, and to prove it, I downloaded the app in front of her and tried to log in. Of course, the login failed. My girlfriend yelled, why would her friend send the screenshots, and I responded that maybe because she's psycho. We never resolved the issue and went to bed angry at each other. So a few days later, my girlfriend and her best friend Chelsea were on campus, and they happened to walk by the cafe where I was sitting with my classmate working on a project. They passed by us, and I waved and smiled at them, then went back to working. Chelsea had to make a thing out of it. She apparently started whispering to Jenny about how cute the girl was, and I chose her to work on the project because I wanted to get with her. She then talked to her about how close we were sitting and how much I was laughing with the girl. That night, when my girlfriend got back to the dorm, she was already on edge. She asked me about the girl I was with at the cafe and said that I was keeping secrets. I tried to explain. I said the girl was just a classmate and we were finishing up an assignment, but she wasn't hearing it. Chelsea had gotten in her head again. The conversation spiraled from there. I pointed out that it was Chelsea who kept feeding her these lies, but my girlfriend jumped to her defense immediately, saying there was no way Chelsea would lie. It was like everything I said only made things worse. I had always felt like I was competing with Chelsea for her attention. I brought up this one time when we had a date planned to this really nice restaurant that Jenny said she wanted to go to, and she ended up canceling on me at the last minute because Chelsea had just broken up with her boyfriend and needed her. I had waited weeks to get a reservation, but all of that went out the window when Chelsea called. I understood at the time, but looking back, it was a pattern. Every time we had something planned, if Chelsea needed something, I was the one who got pushed aside. I told her that I knew that Chelsea always came first. She tried to justify it, saying Chelsea was going through a hard time, but I couldn't help pointing out how it never seemed to matter what was going on with us. I wasn't her priority when Chelsea was around. She got defensive. She insisted Chelsea would never do something as petty as lie to her just to sabotage our relationship. If anything, she was just trying to protect her. To her, if anyone was lying, it had to be me. By the time she grabbed her keys and stormed out, I was just standing there feeling like there was no winning. It was like no matter how much I tried to explain myself, her trust in me was already gone. Later that week, Chelsea invited my girlfriend to a party. She pitched it as a way to have some fun and clear her head after all the tension between us. It seemed like just a chance to relax. I didn't think twice about it. If anything, I was relieved she'd have a break from all the drama. They got to the party and everything seemed fine. From what I heard later, they were just hanging out, grabbing drinks, and chatting with people. Meanwhile, I was across the room with some friends. It wasn't a big deal. I was just catching up with people, laughing like I normally do. I wasn't even thinking about anything serious. It was just a normal Friday night. But then from across the room, Chelsea must have spotted me. She made her move, leaning in close to my girlfriend, probably whispering something, pointing me out. I don't know what she said exactly, but whatever it was, it flipped a switch in my girlfriend. I could see her face change from across the room. She went from smiling and relaxed to cold, her expression tightening like she'd just seen something unforgivable. I saw her heading straight for me, eyes locked on me like I was the enemy. She got right up in my face, her voice sharp. So this is what you're doing now? Flirting with other girls while I'm over there and you act like everything's fine? I was completely caught off guard. I asked her what she was talking about and she told me not to lie to her. She said she saw me laughing with them all close like she didn't even matter, and now I'm sitting there pretending I'm innocent while I was clearly moving on to someone else. It was like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her I wasn't flirting with anyone. We were literally just talking, but she didn't care. Her eyes were already full of doubt, her mind racing with whatever Chelsea had been feeding her. She claimed I had been lying this whole time and that she could see what was going on. I tried again, more desperate now. She cut me off and I could see tears in her eyes. She said I didn't care about her then and that I never did. And just like that, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the party. My chest felt tight like I couldn't breathe, and all I could think was, how did it get this bad so fast? That's when it really hit me. It was all Chelsea. She'd been pulling the strings all along. The next morning, I could tell right away something was different. When she walked in, her face was blank, but the tension was there. She didn't speak right away. She stood there. I could feel it coming before she even said a word. Without a word, she tossed her phone onto the table in front of us. The screen already lit up. I picked it up, confused, and then I saw it. It was a screenshot of what looked like a chat between me and some random girl. The messages were flirtatious. The words didn't feel like mine, but there they were in front of us. Then I looked at the person who sent these screenshots, and you could guess who was behind them. I looked up at her trying to find the words to explain, but she beat me to it. You've been lying to me, she said. First the party, then the cafe, and now this. Chelsea was right about you all along. I felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me. I tried to explain that none of this was real and that I hadn't sent those messages, but she wasn't listening. She had already built her own version of the story in her head. How can I believe anything you say anymore? She asked me. Every time I try to trust you, something else comes up. This is just the final straw. I tried to stay calm, but inside I was spiraling. I pleaded with her and told her that Chelsea had been trying to get between us from the beginning. She doesn't want us to work, and now she's pushing Jenny further away with this fake screenshot. screenshot. She crossed her arms and looked away. Chelsea's my best friend. She wouldn't make this up. Why would she? She asked me, and there it was again, Chelsea. No matter what I said, no matter how much I tried to explain, it always came back to her. I could feel the frustration building in me. She's been trying to control this relationship from the start. She's jealous. She's scared of losing you. And she's using this to turn her against me. She sighed like she'd heard it all before. She swore I was just making excuses. I couldn't breathe. I again tried telling her it wasn't true, but she wasn't budging. I need a break, she whispered like it hurt to even say it. I can't keep going like this with all these doubts. I need space to figure things out. My heart sank. The pain of watching someone I love slip further and further away, all because of lies Chelsea put in her head, ate away at me. I wanted to reach out to her and make her understand, but the look in her eyes told me it was already too late. She grabbed her things and left without another word. As the weeks dragged on, the tension between us hadn't eased, the fight that tore us apart. No matter how much I tried to explain myself, it felt like Chelsea's words had already sealed my fate in my girlfriend's mind. I knew I had to find out more and prove that this wasn't just paranoia or insecurity on my part. So I started digging, scrolling through social media, going further back than I'd ever bothered before. And that's when it all started to come together. Chelsea hadn't just been making offhand comments to my girlfriend. She had been publicly tearing us down for months, maybe even longer. There were posts where she joked about me, mocking the idea that I was good enough for my girlfriend. It was just subtle, passive-aggressive stuff with the intent of being funny. But underneath, it was clear what she was doing. The deeper I looked, the uglier it got. I found comments Chelsea had made about my girlfriend too, things she'd never say to her face. She had been painting my girlfriend as naive, overly trusting, and blind to what was really going on in her life. I could see how Chelsea was feeding her both sides of this, making her doubt me, but also making her doubt herself. It was twisted. At first, I thought Chelsea's whole goal was just to keep my girlfriend to herself. She was always there and was always inserting herself between us. But then I started seeing the deeper resentment. Chelsea's bitterness wasn't new. It had been building long before I came into the picture. There was this sense that she wasn't just sabotaging our relationship. She was sabotaging my girlfriend too, but I didn't understand why. What had happened between them that made Chelsea feel so threatened by her own best friend? Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I gathered all the evidence I had and confronted my girlfriend. I showed her the posts, the snide comments, and the fake screenshots Chelsea had sent. I watched as she read through them, her face slowly changing from confusion to disbelief. For a moment, I thought she'd finally see it, that she'd realize how much Chelsea had been manipulating her. But instead of acknowledging it, she froze. This isn't what it looks like, she said quietly, shaking her head. She believed I was just trying to turn her against Chelsea. I tried to stay calm, but her blindness was pissing me off. She's been doing that to us all along, but she couldn't see it. She's been lying and twisting things, making her question everything. She's jealous. She didn't want to hear it. Why would she be jealous? She's my best friend. She's been there for me through everything. You're the one trying to make this something it's not. I could tell she wasn't ready to accept it, but I pressed on. She once said that Chelsea had a grudge against her, something from when they were younger. I asked her what had happened between the two of them. She looked away and hesitated. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer, but then she finally spoke. In high school, the boys liked Jenny, not Chelsea, and she hated it. It wasn't like my girlfriend asked for the attention, but Chelsea felt like she was the reason no one noticed her. I stayed quiet, letting her talk, knowing there was more. There was one guy, she continued. Chelsea had liked him for years. He was her biggest crush and she was obsessed with him. But during our senior year, he confessed his feelings for me instead. Chelsea never forgave me for it. I didn't even want him like that, but it crushed her when she found out. She stopped. I could see her putting the pieces together. Chelsea had been carrying that bitterness for years and now she was letting it ruin everything. She never got over it. My girlfriend shook her head and realized that it hurt her more than she thought, but still believed Chelsea wouldn't do something like this. Not after all these years. I could see the struggle. Part of her knew the truth, but another part clung to the version of Chelsea she had always believed in, even as she started. Understand, she still couldn't let go. I felt helpless. No matter how much proof I had or how clear it was to me, she wasn't ready to accept it. Chelsea had a hold on her, and I wasn't sure anything could break through that, not even me. I needed to confront Chelsea directly. I caught her one afternoon alone and brought up the conversation she had supposedly had with my girlfriend, the one where she claimed to have seen me with another girl. It was a lie, plain and simple, and I wanted her to admit it. At first, Chelsea tried to brush me off, acting like I was making a big deal out of nothing. But when I pushed harder, asking her specific details about this supposed sighting, she cracked. Her story started to unravel. She couldn't keep track of her own lies, and I knew I had her. I took everything I'd learned and brought it to my girlfriend. This time, when I laid it all out in front of her, she couldn't ignore it. She finally saw how Chelsea had twisted things, played on her insecurities, and slowly drove us apart. Her eyes filled with disbelief and pain, and I could tell it was all crashing down on her at once, but the damage was done. Even though she cut ties with Chelsea that night, the betrayal still lingered. It wasn't just Chelsea she felt betrayed by. It was herself, too. She doubted her own judgment, the way she had trusted someone for so long, and worst of all, she doubted us. We sat down to talk, and it was the hardest conversation we'd ever had. The weight of everything. Her lost trust, the manipulation, the weeks of accusations. She admitted she had been wrong to doubt me, but it didn't change the fact that those doubts had been there. She had believed Chelsea over me for too long, and that trust between us had been shattered. As much as we wanted to, there was no way to go back to how things were. The relationship was too scarred. After a long, painful discussion, we both knew what had to happen. We weren't the same anymore, and no amount of apologies or understanding could fix that. Eventually, we agreed to break up. It wasn't dramatic. There was no yelling, no anger left between us, just a quiet sadness. As she walked out the door for the last time, the sting of it all settled in.